All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Organic Guy podcast. I am your host, the Organic Guy. This is your home of organic conversations where you get to hear from various thought leaders across the organic movement. And as you can see today, I'm very, very excited to be joined by Mrs. Olusola Sowewimo, who is an organic farmer as well as a passionate advocate for organic agriculture. She's the founder of Ope Farms, which is a certified organic farm in Nigeria. She's also a trained and practicing lawyer. She is an experienced human resource personnel consultant, as well as a certified executive and etiquette coach. In 2019, she was actually named as the Farmer of the Year by Ecological Organic Agriculture. So, Mrs. Sowewimo, it's such a pleasure to have you on, and thank you very much for joining me in the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
I look at your background, it's very intense, but I always like to start by giving the viewers and the listeners a little bit of context. So, I mean, right now it's very much to think it otherwise, to think you outside the organic movement. But can you take us to your early childhood? Has this always been the case? I mean, were you raised in an agricultural background and more specifically in an organic setting per se?
You know, it's only when you realize what you're doing that you then flip your mind back to what you probably did in the past.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a farmer and a very prosperous one.
Yeah.
So I grew up believing the fact that farmers can make money from what they do.
Yeah.
And then my mom was very passionate about the kind of food we ate while we were growing up.
Yeah.
So she planted quite a few things at the back of the house. So I would say that is a much exposure that I had to agriculture.
Yeah.
I mean, in those days, it was normal that your mom would grow some things at the back of the house. So I took special interest. Some of my siblings can't even remember she did. And I can't forget that she did.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting how it works. But later on, you actually became a lawyer. And you've been practicing, especially in the area of HR for a long period of time as well. So, I mean, these are some of the roles that I will consider very lucrative. I mean, especially for me, I remember when I was growing up, my dream was to be a lawyer because my aunt, she's a lawyer, and, I could see the kind of lifestyle she was living. She was a good lifestyle that I wanted to look up to. So what happened? What changed in this area? I mean, was there an inspiration or a trigger that meant you to go into organic farming?
The other activities that I do are still ongoing.
Yeah.
So I'm still a lawyer. I enjoy the law.
Mm-hmm.
I am also still in HR. I still do HR for other people. So agriculture is going hand in hand with them. But the trigger to then make agriculture a bit more intense for me was when I realized that it is possible to stay healthy just by eating good food. When I say good food, I mean healthy food that has been produced without the use of herbicides, chemical herbicides, or pesticides, or even synthetic fertilizer.
Yeah.
One of my uncles took after my grandfather. When he retired from his job as in the civil service, he actually went into poultry and livestock and a few crops. And I remembered him saying that over half of the money he used to build the house he lives was actually from agriculture.
Wow.
So they had all inspired me. In fact, he was the one who first found the first piece of land that I bought. He was one that found it for me. So later on, I had cause to meet some people at a cancer conference.
Yeah.
And I was shocked to find out that only about 10% of all of us who were at that conference were not cancer survivors. Almost every participant were cancer survivors. In fact, we were like the odd ones out. You're like, what are you doing here if you don't have cancer or you haven't survived it?
Yeah.
And I told the story of my mom,
Yeah.
who at 72 died of cancer of the colon. And the doctor then told us when we were, feeling very bad that, oh, she ate well. How could this happen? And the doctor said, people rarely develop cancer at 72. So your mom must have lived very well.
Yeah.
And that was why the cancer was that delayed, So I just went on a vacation and I got this notice saying there was a cancer conference. To me, it was like a whole conference dedicated to cancer. I thought that was really very interesting. And I made my way there. It held in California, but they took us to Mexico. We visited cancer hospitals. We were free to speak with patients who wanted to tell us their stories. And it was just so amazing. And at that point in time, I made up my mind that when I go back to Nigeria, I was going to start my own farm, ensuring that it was only the best that could come out of it for people who would like to heal or those who would like to maintain the state of their wellness.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of these studies that give a lot of credit to healthy lifestyle. I also remember interviewing one patient. I went into an organic farmers market, and I asked her, why do you come to buy these foods? I mean, you can go to your local grocery and buy them. And her first response was like, this is what made me heal. I used to suffering from cancer, started eating this food, and this is why I come here. These are some of the kind of stories that actually need to be told more in terms of what organic can bring into the table, which are not being spoken more a lot these days, I think. So it's also very, very inspiring from my end, actually.
Thank you. But I had an experience from last year to this year that, people keep validating this for me. What I'm doing, people keep validating it for me because some of our customers will call me and tell me stories like, oh, I'm pregnant. And I'm thinking, okay, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
And the lady says, oh, 3 months ago, my doctor said the toxins in my system was too much. I either eat organic or something. And I started 3 months on, I'm pregnant. And I've been buying things from you. We also had a lady who was already given 2 weeks to leave by the hospital. The cancer hospital had given her 2 weeks to leave because she had been cancer stage 4 from last year, January, till last year, October. Guess what? She lived another 7 months.
Wow.
Just by supplying her things from the farm.
Wow. Inspirational. So, and then, you are at this point and you decided to go into organic farming. So what's happening there? Take us through that transition period. I mean, what are some of the challenges you are going through? And was there things that you enjoyed through that process of transition? Maybe you can also share with us.
When I started, I thought it was just going to be so easy. Is it not just to grow food?
Yeah.
Oh, I did that before. But guess what? It was tough. It was really, really tough. I remember then that we had planted about 600 stands of tomatoes and we were so happy and excited. Then overnight, things just went wrong. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anyone to call. The only person I called came, shook his head, when you shake your head like, sorry, this is all gone, kind of.
Yeah.
So I then knew that I had to know more. I had to dig to know more. Yeah. So I started relating with some other people, even from outside Nigeria, maybe through emails, through YouTube and all of that. And that was how I then met the Organic Association in Nigeria, that is NOAN. They were supposed to be having the West African Organic Conference. And I was shocked that, oh my goodness, in all of this, there's actually an association in Nigeria. So I remember that conference. I must have been one of the first 4 people who arrived there that morning. And at that conference, I met other people who were still equally struggling like me, but at least there was some kind of support system. So there were people who could tell you what they did when something in particular went wrong, and then you two could also share yours, and that greatly helped. Then going to those conferences, I've been to quite a number of conferences. I meet so many people, and I'm always armed with my notebook to learn from them.
Yeah.
I say knowledge is key. So that knowledge is what
Yeah.
has propelled me to this point where I even have developed my own processes for some of the things that I do.
I mean, I think generally in life, we don't always know what we're going to expect until we get into those scenarios. It doesn't matter even if it's fitness,
I
it's
know.
our careers. So you always have to get your hands into that particular, so that you can realize the challenges that goes through to doing that particular things. So yeah, it's always interesting. And now you are currently running Open Farms, which at first actually I pronounced it as Open Farms until I read it. Yeah, until I read it a couple of times, and then I realized it's Open Farms, which which actually apparently has another meaning in your local language, right?
Yes, it's gratitude.
Nice. So yeah, you've been running it since 2014. So I also like you to give us an overview of organic agriculture in this space. I mean, since you're involved in organic agriculture, so I'm assuming you are always open to seeing on how different things are happening. So in terms of marketing, maybe you're looking at awareness. Are people more aware about organic farming, legislation side, what's happening? So you can give us your 2 cents on what you see is happening overall in the organic movement in Nigeria.
When I started knowing the right thing to do, I thought of the general market. Then it occurred to me, I think I sold once or twice, a few times to the general market. And I just thought, wait a minute, my things are lost. As in, nobody would put any extra value on it in the general market because they don't even know. Even though I remember there was a gentleman we used to supply our lettuce, and he then started calling us and saying, where's your lettuce? Where's your lettuce? I said, why? He said, because everybody who buys it comes back asking that, no, they want this particular one they bought at this particular time.
Yeah.
So I then told myself, no, the general market is not where I will thrive. So with the help of my children, who are quite grown up now, I decided to go online. So we started trying to get our own market.
Yeah.
So today we have a database of over 300 customers. Of course, they all don't buy every week. If they did, I will be very rich. But at least most of them. So the awareness, I had to create my own advocacy. And it was one of the reasons why I went on the social media. Number one, I wanted people to know what it had been for me, so that if they wanted to do the same thing, they could learn from some of my experiences. And then I wanted people to know that it is possible to get food that is super healthy. So that advocacy is what then kept growing our customer base and has increased our market. Today we have 2 stores where we also sell our produce, because we realize that even when we supply other markets, it takes a fair bit of time to get that feedback. But now that people can go into any of our 2 stores, we get direct feedback from them. So that advocacy has helped. The market is growing, but a lot more could still happen in Nigeria. We're nowhere near where we want to be.
That's certainly the trend we are seeing even across Kenya. We're also seeing very good interception of different factors happening. Middle class growing, the area of people getting more aware into what they're eating. So the upside definitely looks positive, and I can't wait to see how the overall picture looks like. You mentioned a little bit earlier about social media, and it's one of the areas that I have seen you are very, very good and well versed at, which is a contradiction because most farmers usually don't put a lot of effort into social media. So I'm curious, you mentioned, you went into social media trying to create that awareness, but what was that the thing that made you start using social media? Because when I look at also an older demographic, it's either their children which push them to start using social media, or their colleagues or stuff like that. But what was your trigger that, you said, you know what, I'm going to social media and I'm going to take it serious?
First of all, there's one thing I always tell people. Every opportunity or experience that you have had in the past will always one day come back to be very useful. I'm one of those who I love to learn. If you tell me, oh, they're teaching people how to use WhatsApp for something today, I've probably paid and I've joined that group just to learn. Now, I worked in my last job was purely electronic. It was an electronic office.
Yeah.
We didn't have to write letters or mails. Everything was done by email. All we're learning on the EMS, the learning platform.
Yeah.
I had to learn how to use quite a few Microsoft and all of those kind of softwares.
Yeah.
So I knew that whatever I decide to go out to do, that knowledge was going to enhance it for me. So I went on social media. I was still testing the waters, actually. I think my page was private. Then a younger lady, one of my husband's cousins, just asked, oh, Auntie, what are you doing now? And then I started telling her my story. And she said, I hope you're on social media. I said, yes, I am. And then she looked and said, I don't believe it. You do all this and it's private?
Yeah.
How can you be private? You can't be private. And at that point in time, she just switched me on. And that was how, because I don't even post private things. It's not like I post my car, my shoe, or any of those things. I was just talking about what I was doing. She said, no, you have no reason to be private. Let people know what you're doing. And that was it. So I then decided that, because I had started under another name, another brand. And when the farm, I just said, I was talking more about the farm anyway. So that was how I moved from that and then started another page just specifically for upper farms, so that upper farms can be more focused. Even upper farms does not even sell. So I opened another page, which is Upper Farms Organic Mart, where we then advertise. I didn't want upper farms to get lost, struggling and trying to get customers. I wanted upper farms to go out there and just talk about what she's doing and what organic agriculture is all about.
Yeah, you mentioned very important points there. One was trying to share your experiences, which I think most farmers don't put in mind when they're trying to open a social media account.
Begging them through their DMs, telling them that they need to do that.
Yeah, because one thing that you are going through, there's probably another farmer who is going through similar experience. So by just sharing that experience, it might be a solution to another person who is just following your page. The other point you mentioned is about looking at it from a brand perspective. So you're trying to sell, you put your brand out there, you're trying to put your reputation out there so that other people can associate with what you're doing. So that's a very good testament on how well you're doing, actually. So congratulations from that point of view.
Thank you.
So I would also like to mention a little bit about the business and entrepreneurial perspective, because you are now running it as a business. But overall, when I look at from overall point of view, there are some fundamentals that every business must have. So I'm talking about every good business must have a good product, should have some good revenue, blah, 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 all the kind of stuff. But from your experience, do you think there's a difference between running an organic business from any other business? And what has been your experience so far running such a kind of a business? Is there any advice you can give maybe to a farmer listening to this or a practitioner? What will be your advice to them if they are looking to open an organic business?
First of all, if you're planning to go into organic business, you need to ask yourself, in which area do you really want to play? Because that's very important. When I started out strictly on production. Then I started realizing that I could do more on the processing side. So I went to learn how to process. I had this post-harvest program, which I attended, and that was a turning point for me. I then realized that I could produce my own spices. We have an apiary on the farm, so we harvest our own honey.
Yeah.
We also have palm kernels, so we started producing our own oils, our own palm oil. There was just that opening there for us. And of course, marketing, the ability to sell all of these things, because it is one thing to be able to make all those things, is another thing to actually be able to leverage on it and sell to make money.
Yeah.
So I would say knowledge is super, super important. You need to ask yourself where you want to play. And please believe that going into an organic business is like any other business. So every other strategy that entrepreneurs use, you also need. The fact that you're a farmer, you need to go beyond the farmers of the yesteryears and be the farmer of now. So a modern farmer, you need to have your own things like your production schedule. You need to know your market. You need to know what will sell from you, so that you're not just winking in the dark, or you see somebody on YouTube or WhatsApp harvesting 80 bags of cucumbers. You don't even know the kind of soil, whether you need amendments. Then you jump on that wagon and you say, oh, you also want to produce that. So knowledge is very key. Decide where you want to play. I remember the young lady for about 2 years. This young lady was just taking my kale and reselling. Guess what? She was making more profit than I was. So for her, she was a trader. She didn't need to go through all of the experience that I went through. So for anybody going into organic, you just need to calm down and really, really choose and decide where you want to play in the game. When you now make up your mind, then please try to be mentored, or try to make those who know coach you. If you have to pay for it, please do. I don't look for anything for free. I always feel that life has its balance. So I am not going to jump at someone and say, oh, you need to teach me this for free. In fact, when I offer to pay for people's knowledge, they're usually more excited and they tend to respect me for that, So that is what I would tell the average person who wants to go into organic. Knowledge.
So help us look into a bigger picture right now. From your perspective and involvement in this organic space, how do you see the organic movement moving forward in Nigeria and from an African context? What do you see happening maybe in the next few years, 5-10 years from now?
I'm quite certain that more and more people, in fact, I think COVID did probably a massive job for us, because we had products that we process, like some medicinal plants and all of that. They sold so well during COVID. And then COVID taught, at least I would say in Africa, for instance, it taught probably about 90% of us the fact that your health is your wealth, because the ability to withstand the effects was now more like, are your cells strong enough? Have you built up that level of, I won't call it resistance, but threshold, such that you can go through it much more smoothly? I don't think there's any turning back. There's no turning back for many people. Organic is definitely the way to go. And like most people now say, organic is life, because it's no longer somebody just saying, oh, it's a cliche. People are beginning to experience it day in, day out. So I see organic becoming even much more important than it is. 2022 is going to be more massive, because now that people are beginning to see the effect and the impact, they want organic. I have customers now who tell me things like, oh, if you don't have a particular thing, I don't eat it until the next time you harvest it. And it's happening. People are beginning to understand that they need to eat healthy. So it's going to be massive for us. What organic is now is going to be probably like 10 times what is going to be in another 5 years.
Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to dive deep into rapid fire question. So this is some of the question that I prepared for you. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna throw to you a question, and then you're going to give me your answer basically. So don't try to overthink it. Just give me the first thing that comes to mind, and I'm sure it's going to be a little bit of fun. So you ready?
Yes.
Okay, so the first question is, what was the first career that you dreamed of having as a kid?
Anything that will make me count money every day. My mom used to count money every day. She was a trader.
Nice. Yeah, that's a good experience. The second question, if you had to eat one meal going forward, what will it be?
Vegetables. I love
Vegetables.
steamed vegetables.
Definitely a good addition to any meal for sure. So the third question, who is your favorite historical figure?
In Nigeria, I would have Madame Tinubu and Madame Ransom Kuti. They were women who fought for emancipation of other women at that time.
So this is a question that you have to pick one. Favorite social media platform, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn?
It would be Instagram.
Instagram.
Because I've mastered it very well.
Nice. If you could have any animal as a pet, what would it be and why?
It would be a dog because my dad used to have a very loyal dog. So it would just be a dog.
Okay. Sixth question. What is your favorite beverage, coffee or tea?
Tea any day. The leaves from Okwe Farms make me tea all the time. I love our lemongrass.
Which one will you choose? Employment or entrepreneurship?
Unfortunately, I have to say both because you learn from employment and you can always put this into entrepreneurship.
So the eighth question is, how old were you when you realized that Santa is not real?
I think my dad, he debunked Santa Claus for us right from the beginning. So that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah, most African families always do that. So they always spoil the fun very early on. So the ninth question, what quote resonates with you most?
I try to live in the gratitude mode. It's one of the reasons why the farm was named Okwe Farms.
Yeah.
I have since found out that we tend to illuminate our complaints and overlook the very many blessings that we experience every minute.
Yeah.
So I'm always asking myself, even when I have to go through experiences on the farm that are not very good, I ask myself, what are the lessons in this for me? What am I grateful for? And I keep a gratitude journal, which I try to complete every morning. So that just makes life a lot easier for me.
Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
To be focused. Anything that you want to do, you just need to be focused. Read about it, learn about it, ask all the questions, and at the end of the day, make sure that that investment pays off whichever way that investment pays off, because you're going to nurture it, put all your effort into it, and don't be distracted by others.
Yeah.
Because it's quite easy to get caught into what others are doing, what others know. So don't ever compare yourself with anyone.
Yeah.
Just stay focused and make sure that you are alert to everything around you so that you can also take on opportunities that come your way.
Wow, powerful. Thank you very much for participating in the rapid fire questions. It's always a nice segment which I think most viewers will have an idea, get to know you a little bit more. So thank you very much for participating. Overall, it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you, and thank you for giving us your insights and some of the challenges you've gone through this journey. And I'm looking forward to following your journey, seeing how everything is going to move going forward.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to have been here.